This is our shoot. I did the math. This is our fifth, sixth year, sixth year we embark upon of doing these meetings and recordings, which is kind of crazy to me, but here we are. Um,
That's a bit longer than the system lasted.
a bit longer than the system
Yeah.
was. Yeah, exactly. So, I didn't have a an agenda per se, except except I want to continue to ask people to respond to my email about whether you want to whether you are thinking about attending any kind of vintage computer meet up in 2026. And this is partly to help coordinate folks who are going to go to the same one, right? And also, just to see what we're doing. Um, and so yeah, respond to that. I'll send the link out again to the groups.io, and I will put it in this month's newsletter, which is going to go out in a week or so. Um, so
Hey, David,
there's,
related to that, I'm sure everybody probably saw it, but they opened the VCF Midwest
yep,
Hotel Block early this year, like last night. So
yeah, that was crazy.
now's the time to book.
Now is the time to book for VCF Midwest. That's exactly right. And Paul has been asking me, what time, and I'm like, I haven't even figured it out yet, but I'm guessing, you know, Thursday to or was it Thursday? Friday to Monday? I can't remember exactly. But I'm also planning on attending VCF East this year, which is in Wall, New Jersey. This will be the longest amount of time I have spent in New Jersey. The second longest amount of time was waiting for somebody to put gas in my car. For those of you who are not aware of this, New Jersey is one of the few states left where you, the consumer, are not allowed to fuel up your own car. Strange as it is. Um, yeah, all right. So that's my plug for this meeting. Um, I don't know. Let me just check to see if
So, David,
yeah,
you are going to two meetings and you're going
I'm gonna
to
go to two. Yes,
Oh, I didn't, so you're going to go to Midwest then.
I'm gonna go to Midwest and
Oh,
East.
I thought you were only going to the East.
I was trying to figure out which one I want to do, which was going to be the second. And so this year, Midwest will be the second, just because it's like the largest.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Yeah.
and then I think next year, I'll go out west. So, to hang out with Tim Swenson and other people and Ingo, who's on the West Coast, to try to, balance it out, I guess. We'll
Yeah.
see how that goes. But yeah, Midwest is sort of, it's in the middle. It's the equidistant pain for most folks across the country, except for, David Green, who lives, you know, within miles, and Mark Martin, who lives within miles as well of Schaumburg, Illinois. Um, yeah. So on that note, does anybody have anything that they want to talk about? Jeff, you were away. You're back.
I apologize for being away. You happened to schedule two meetings right on top of my wonderful Christmas extended break.
Oh,
So I was either traveling or enjoying Christmas, one or the other. So sorry.
those are valid
Sorry.
things to do. Um, have you had any progress on your various projects?
I have not. I have, to be honest, I have been putzing around with some ESP32 stuff, which is soaked up all of my free time and interest. And then over the over the holiday break, I finally came up with a solution for finding a place to live, a house, which involves building a house, which is good because
Oh,
I found house that I want, but then I had to find a piece of land, which now I can't get a real estate agent to call me back. So been quite an interesting sidetrack, but
So all of the electronic doodads and books in the background, you're going to have to pack those up again at some point and
yep,
Ooh,
this is just a temporary apartment, which is
Or he could donate them as well.
no. The house is being built with a full basement that's going to support full storage of all this stuff. So
nice.
it will
Nice.
continue to look like this. It will just be in a different location.
So I had this friend many years ago who he didn't build a house, but he bought a house. And in the basement was his shop. This was one of these houses where I guess it's maybe called a raised ranch or something. So the garage is in the basement, and
Hmm.
his electronic shop was in the basement slash office, and also they had another room which was just a library. And uh, I don't think he had parked a car in his garage in probably a good 10 or 12 years because it's full of woodworking equipment and his cedar uh cedar, what do they call it? Spoke stake uh
Oh, spoke
uh,
shave or
uh canoe kit, all kinds of junk, right? And so the thing that he told me about that was very important to know about having a house is that you need to load the basement up with lots and lots of stuff. It's called basement ballast, and it prevents your house from floating away.
I love that. I'm stealing that.
Yeah.
It's so true. So true.
My basement is full of stuff. We are not going anywhere.
Yeah, there actually are no basements or cellars here in this area.
And I'm surprised, Jeff,
Hmm.
you're in South Carolina. You're sort of like on the border for basements, aren't you?
The basement thing has been coming from the Midwest, it's been quite a challenge because it's the second time that I've lived down here, look for a house with a basement, and I get this weird look in the real estate agent's face. They're like, well, it's not on a hill. This house, well, does it have a basement? No, it's not on a hill. I'm like, what does that matter? Well, you can't have a basement if you're not on a hill. I'm like, yes, you can. And then she said, well, that would just be a hole in the ground. And I'm like, yes, that's what a basement is. But there's the builder here gave me the same spiel, and apparently there's something with drainage and the clay level in the soil or whatever. So, as a matter of practice, they don't do it unless they can have one wall exposed for some aspect or something like that. So,
Okay. Yeah.
luckily, this property that I found is goes uphill on the road. So, looking at the topo map, there's about an 8 foot run about the length of the house. So it should work out okay if I can get the land and all that kind of stuff.
On a hill.
Oh, I
Okay.
can tell you, having been through it twice, sticking to the original budget is almost impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that because there's the base price of the house, and then there's, oh, you want upgraded carpet that doesn't feel like sandpaper. Oh, you want tile on the floor. Oh, you want this. Oh, you want that. Oh, it's only $1,000. Oh, it's only $2,000. So, like, how many of these things on your list you have to have before you suddenly click over, to the next tax bracket or something. Yeah. So
Well,
it's going to be fun.
good luck with your building adventures.
Yeah. So that'll be going. If hopefully this works out, and the potential move-in date is unfortunately in September, so it's going to have to
Oh,
carefully interleaved with VCF Midwest, of course,
okay. Okay.
because
Just start later.
I'm not going to the Midwest. I will be going to Midwest.
Cool. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
Uh,
I hope there's a bunch of us that go because we talked about, kind of pooling tables again, and
mhm.
I think that'll be a great.
Well, Carl has said he wants to go. Um, and I'm gonna guess that Jeff Burrell will come because it's not that far. It's like a 5 or 6 hour drive, he said. And we can, get an end or something. When I arrange to get tables, I'm going to see if can we get a U portion or something. So because we were really stretched out, and that was kind of a challenge, but maybe if we can get a
I
more
don't
of a,
think it was that bad, really.
it wasn't too bad, except Carl was way off at the end,
He was.
and I'd like
But he
to.
was doing his own thing anyway, soldering and such.
Well, this is true.
So he wasn't paying attention. He never actually, I mean, maybe he got up from that table, but he basically sat at that thing. In fact, the other day, even in his message to the group, he said he wants to actually make sure he sees the show
Yeah,
because he didn't get
exactly.
to see the show.
And if we are closer together in a tighter group, it'll be easier to spot Carl while he goes off and wanders
Yeah.
around and buys things that he probably doesn't want to take home to his non-existent basement.
Yeah,
Unlike,
if you don't have a basement and you have the ballast, then your house gets top heavy, right? And you can fall over.
well, Joe can speak to that. He has a whole building.
Well,
Well,
there you
yeah,
go.
at
Have a
least one.
Oh, at least one? Oh
Well,
man.
I'm kind of spilling into my wife's workshop,
Do-
so it's
The question for you, sir, is do you have two sheds?
no, I have
heat,
more
a
than
heat,
two sheds.
a
Oh,
heat
no.
shed and a she shed, right?
Well, I have the big garage, and Michelle has the little garage, and then we have two different sheds and a chicken coop, and of course the house with stuff crammed into the back of the
Is there going to be a
basement.
punchline at the end of this? That's what it sounds
No,
like you're building up
this is
to.
this is this is an illness, and I live with it.
It's-
Okay.
You're
But I
all
enjoy it, so it's all good. It
you're
makes me
almost
happy.
you're almost to a barn.
It's an illness, you enjoy it, and this is the support group.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
Joe, are you familiar with the Red Green Show?
Intimately, yes.
Okay.
I watched Red Green way, way back because that was when I still lived in Michigan. That was a thing there.
Hmm.
I don't know what
And
that
yeah,
is.
It's
it's
Canadian, right?
Canadian.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
It's
Um,
hilarious.
yeah.
it is. It is. It's two guys, one who's, older
Acts
and
like a yokel.
one who's younger. It involves a lot of duct tape. Um, the universal repair tool, duct tape, and
If the
the
women don't
things.
find you handsome, they should at least find you handy.
That's right. Thank you.
Yep.
The things that Joe, just described about, various buildings and all this kind of jazz. That is the Red Green Show. It is packed full of stuff like that. Hey, Carl.
Yeah.
Hey,
Uh, hey, I just want to call it Jack. Are you there?
I'm here.
Jack. Um, I'm gonna welcome, first of all. Thank you for showing up.
Thank
One of the things that we like to do is for anybody who's new, we ask them, tell us your what I like to say origin story. How did you come into Timex Sinclair or Sinclair computers, and what did you do with them, and you know your experiences.
Yeah, I bought a ZX81 in 1982 and did all kinds of things with it. Made hardware to go with it. I sent you pictures of what I did
Your
with my
your really nice keyboard. Yeah,
ZX81.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, Put it inside an old terminal keyboard and rewired the keys. There were some of them were double stroke keys and some were single. And then I also converted a RAM pack to 64K. But we had a ZX81 we used at church for a long time. And I wrote a program to label cassette tapes.
Hmm.
And we used that. It saved a lot of typing. Then eventually we got around to a 2068 with a floppy drive and used I think I made 6 or 8 different databases on them, one 360K floppy.
Wow.
So we could go through by date and find the different titles to print and ran a Centronics printer with it.
Wow.
And it worked out pretty well. I put all that stuff away, it's been, gosh, 25, 30 years since I even looked at it until I sent that stuff to you.
Yeah,
I thought I'd join tonight. I just got in from a camera club meeting, so I wasn't sure if I was going to even make the meeting. But
that's really cool. Um, uh, were you also a ham, or was it the person that you knew that was a ham?
I'm sorry.
Was it, were you also a ham amateur radio person, or was it the person that you got those?
No, that was a friend of mine that had that,
Okay. Okay.
and he gave me his QZX stuff.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, he gave me the TS 1500, and I got some Centronic printer interface, some stuff I've got on eBay right now, and he gave me all of that.
Cool. So Jack reached out to me through the website, and one of the things that, as he mentioned, he came into is a whole bunch of issues of QZX, which was this newsletter for hams who also, owned Sinclair or Timex Sinclair computers. And so it's full of articles about how to use your, CX81, 1000, and eventually your 2068, in your ham shack, to do stuff like keep track of the people that you have chatted with over the ham radio, or do things like calculate antenna uh, lengths and all kinds of craziness. And we only have a few right now. We only have a few issues of QZX archived. So it sounds like Jack's box, which should get here any day. We'll have a bunch more, and it'll expand our ham radio representation within the site. Which tickles me because my grandfather was a ham, and this is the year in which I have decided I am going to actually get my own damn ham license.
No, what's made you decide to do that?
Who was? Somebody else in the industry that I work in on LinkedIn mentioned that he was a ham, and that he had just passed his I think it was amateur extra. He was doing he talked about how he was doing this thing where you go to really high locations and use like a 2 meter radio, which has a pretty short
Esta
uh,
es la estación de servicio.
a pretty short range to try to do as long a connection as possible. 2 meter is about the same frequency as FM radio. It's actually a little bit higher. Like FM radio tops out at 108 megahertz, and 2 meters 144 megahertz. So just like an FM radio station, the range is not really long, and especially with even handheld 2 meter, where you're limited by the power of the battery. Hams do all kinds of crazy stuff like this. They come up with these funky little challenges, and then they have conventions, and get together and do silly things. But I've always wanted to get a ham license. You know, ham radio and computers were my parallel interests since being a teenager. But
Yeah, I think because 2 meter isn't that, because those are low powered radios. So I think they call those QRP radios, right?
yeah, yeah, they're
They're not,
just
yeah, yeah.
they're mostly handheld. I mean, there are some, desktop 2 meter units, but most of them are just handheld um, battery powered units.
Is it all voice, or is it tone like Morse code, or is there even like modem, like FSK encoding of digital data, that sort of
So that's
thing?
the amazing thing about ham radio. Don't get me started. Um, when back in the day, back in the 80s, in order to get a novice license, which was the starting point, you had to learn Morse code. There's a certain amount of electronics theory you have to learn. I can't remember what else some of the standards were, but you had to be able to key Morse code, I think, at like 10 words a minute or something, really, really slow. The whole Morse code keying thing has fallen by the wayside, but there's still people who do it. Um, uh, so ham radio folks do, like I said, they undertake all of these crazy challenges. Um, my grandfather, whose profession was he was a lawyer. He was a county attorney in Mississippi. Um, he had in his backyard, he had one of these big dish antennas, and I asked him about it one time, and he's like, "Oh, that's for boom bounce." And so boom bounce is you have this big antenna. You aim your signal at the moon, and it bounces off the surface of the moon and comes back to you or to someone else. You know, again, this is all sort of these, just sort of arbitrary, what's a difficult challenge that we can do? Um, to your point, Jeff, there's a thing called packet radio, and then with that also are repeaters so that you can do a thing that's kind of equivalent to what FidoNet did back in the 90s, except that it goes further back. You could hook a terminal up to your ham radio and type stuff, and it would send it out and, you know, go to whomever or go to a repeater and, find its way to the other end of to the other person. Um, there are people who uh, use the various levels of the atmosphere to skip signals. So they have a signal that at a certain frequency and it'll bounce off of a certain level of the atmosphere. And so they try to test out, well, how far can I reach halfway around the world to somebody using this ionospheric skip. Single, I'm sorry, slow scan TV was another thing, and not kidding about slow scan TV. Um, all kinds of craziness. If you can imagine, something involving a radio, ham people have done it. One of the popular things that they do in when they get together and have their conventions is the ham equivalent of a fox hunt. So they'll put a transmitter out somewhere,
Very
in
low powered,
very low powered. Yes, exactly. So part of the thing is picking up the signal, right? And then you have to
like maybe
triangulate the
50
signal.
milliwatts,
What's that?
like maybe 50 milliwatts.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Really, really, yeah, 50 milliwatts. Yep. And so then you have to triangulate the signal and, be the first person to find the location of the transmitter. And there's just, those sort of
After the
ham radio
apocalypse,
folks are,
after the apocalypse, you're going to be our best friend.
well, that's exactly, and so that's a big thing with hams is that part of the um, part of being a ham comes with it the obligation that you are going to be available if necessary during emergencies, to help with communications. That's a thing that they do. They're like,
Yeah, because since all the hams have the receiving and the transmitting, on their own premises,
yep,
like the cell towers will go down, it doesn't matter.
yep,
Hams can still communicate.
yep,
Mhm.
Yeah, completely distributed and ad hoc networking and so forth. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
and
each station could have its own power source generator or solar or whatever, right?
yeah,
Yeah, that'll be the last line of defense as far as, yeah, if like you said, the apocalypse happens, hams will be talking over the radio, you know,
hmm.
after
Hello,
everything
David.
else is gone.
Hey, Gustavo.
I am radio.
See, we have a ham radio
Yeah,
not with us.
yes. My license is LU1AAU.
How long have you
Since
been
the
how long have you been
oh,
licensed, Gustavo?
since I was 15 years,
Yeah. Hmm.
and started with the Timex, the 2068, and we create a clone of the TNC 220 here
Oh,
in Argentina, and also install the RAM, the CPU, the packet chip for Zilog, and run it.
and
That
for
was
those
for
of
my
us who don't,
station.
for those of us
Yeah,
who don't know what a TNC is, can you explain that?
yeah. I have it's running. I go to my garage. I have the board. It's running. I was 12 12 voltage and start. Last time I tested it
Hmm.
using with the serial communication controller I create with the 8251 chip for the Timex, and special software created for 80 columns, but 64 columns in real, not 80,
So
64.
a TNC is a thing that you hook up between your computer and your radio in order to do packet radio, in order to send, data.
Exactly. Initially with the
It's like a modem.
VHF. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're fine. We transmit tons of programs with my friends. I sent for the TNC. Yeah, the Timex program. We exchange program with the radio.
That's crazy.
Was that because they live far away, or is this for just to do? Because it seems like it would be easier just to give someone a tape.
No, when I start with the TNC is free of error because it's AX25. The protocol is X25 based, and it's retransmission if error. You have be sure that the program pass without errors. That is the difference between the tape or.
Gustavo, when you were
Yes.
exchanging programs with folks, were they
Yes.
were they far away from you or were they near you?
No, far away.
Okay.
With my another amateur radio in Argentina, and my colleagues or friends is in the Great Buenos Aires.
Okay.
But not in the same location, in the same city or different location. We exchange program during the night. Yeah.
Very cool.
Remember, internet does not exist. It's impossible to send nothing remotely.
Right. Yeah. The internet of the air, as it were.
Yes, exactly. But not for me.
Very cool.
Yes. Nice history.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Jack. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there, but thank you for joining us, Jack. And definitely come back and hang out with us in the future because, as you can tell, we're delightful people. Actually, y'all know most of you know Randy Kindig. He does Adam, it's Floppy Days, but he also does some others.
Antic.
Okay.
Yeah, the Atari podcast.
Yeah.
And Floppy Days. I don't know if I don't know another one, but maybe.
But he's been doing this a long time. Like, his podcasts are in the double digits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Randy sent me a note the other day.
Was he going to join us?
Today, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought that's what you were going to say.
Oh, no. But in his note, he said he's continually amazed at how tight and friendly our group is. It's almost as if it's an in-person group, although many of us have never actually met. I was like, oh, that's a really nice thing to say.
Yeah.
That was really cool. So Adam, you got a ZX Next.
I did. I got it from Joseph, who's actually in the group right now.
Oh.
Yeah. I got it, and I've been playing around with it, reading the book. I actually got another book yesterday. I don't know if you all are familiar with. Are any of you familiar with the Next or have one? I mean, you know of it, but does anyone here have one or any of its clones?
David Sully has one.
Okay.
Carl,
I'm not understanding. Say it again, please, Adam.
A ZX Spectrum Next.
Oh, okay. No, I do not have one. Okay.
But it's a cool little machine. Mine's the second generation, and the third generation's Kickstart. I don't know. It seems like it finished a while back, but it's still not released yet.
No, this year.
Yeah, but I got this cool book. I haven't even looked through it, but is this backwards for y'all?
Oh no.
No, but I got this book. It's print on demand, but it's actually, I think it's from Europe, so it's some university press book, and it costs like $100-something over there. But if you get it print on demand from Amazon, it's much less, like $30 or something. But it's I don't even really know what it's about, but I was like, oh, a book on the Spectrum Next. Well, I'll get it, and it's from like 2020. It's by, I guess, let's see, it's by Simon Goodwin, and it's from 2024, I think. Let's see.
I don't know off the top of my head who he is.
2024, yeah. I think he wrote some books for the Spectrum, actually.
Yes, but that, as I was gonna say, is I recognize his name.
Yeah, would you look him up on your website? Because I remember, but I don't remember.
I don't think he's on my site, but I recognize his name from the Next Facebook groups he's
Oh, okay.
pretty active and stuff.
I still haven't
Um,
looked at any of those. Yeah, but I'm
he's
having a ball with my Next. I actually expected to use it in Spectrum mode, but really I've been using it in Next mode, and messing around with its basic. And it's pretty fun. And I also wasn't aware that it emulated the Timex Computer 2048 at all. So while I haven't used that because I don't need that, I didn't realize it took advantage of those screen modes of the 64 column and 85 column mode. Apparently, that's offered
yeah,
on the yeah.
yeah.
And it also does. Gustavo should be happy about this. It does a CPM as well, and I booted up into that. Although I've not used it for anything, but it has CPM. It does a whole bunch of computers. Obviously, you all probably. I mean, I don't know who knows about it or who doesn't know about it. It's like it's. I don't really have a presentation, but maybe I should put one together. Ryan was talking about we should have a presentation of this the next sometime because we've talked
Uh,
about it.
Adam,
Yeah,
do you know the CPM format for this machine
I do not.
or the source code of the BIOS?
No.
I know it's CPM 3, if that's what
Oh,
you
is
mean.
it? Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, CPM plus then.
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, no, the idea is to create a compatible reader writer for this file system disk. That is my idea. I need to see the source or the binary and then extract the CPM tables to create a clone of program to read and write.
Well, the big thing with the Next guys, if you don't know what the Next is, it was started, it was as a Kickstarter way back, I think in,
2020.
was it
Yeah, it didn't get
2020? I
it
thought it
didn't get
was
released.
18.
Yeah, it might
I
have been
thought it
Oh,
was
older than
eight.
that.
maybe
I thought it
it
was
didn't
Early
get released till
18.
23 though.
Well, no, that it got released before that because I had the first gen. I got the first Kickstarter one,
Right.
which was
Yeah, you brought it
before
over here.
COVID, right? Which was before COVID. So then the second one, they didn't plan to do another second one, but it's so popular that they decided to do a second one, and that's kind of when COVID hit. And they had a lot of supply issues, obviously, with things. I think they had to change the FPGA they were using. But I mean, I kind of want to get back to my main point is that the Next is a FPGA
Hmm.
version, right? It's got an FPGA chip in there, and what the intent was to get hardware, accurate timings of the spectrum, right? But they also expanded it, right?
Hmm.
It has Wi-Fi capability. It has the cores, kind of like Adam's mentioning. I don't know if they call them cores. I mean, I think they did back then, but now they're
They
called
call them
personalities,
personalities.
right?
Yeah.
So you can actually, it's kind of like a MAME thing, same kind of idea there, where, or not MAME,
The Mister
right,
Hmm.
FPGA. Yeah, that's
right.
what
So
it
it's the
sounded.
same kind of thing with the Mister because that has an FPGA in it as well, and you can emulate or down to hardware accurate timings, all these different arcade boards that were in arcade machines or consoles, or people have gone and made cores. Pretty sure they're called cores on the Mister.
They are.
Yeah, and then that way you can get a hardware accurate emulation, right, of all these different machines. Commodore 64, PlayStation 2. I think they're the all these weird consoles, that you probably would never be able to buy, but with
Right.
the Spectrum Next, that's the whole idea was to, kind of carry that over to, the Spectrum world. I'm kind of saddened still that there's not a 2068, a Timex Sinclair 2068 core. Um,
Well, there's not a huge. I mean, I
right,
say this
right,
to everyone
exactly.
who's on a 2068 meeting. There's not a huge community, but of course, everyone here
Hmm.
is like, well, of course there is. But I don't think there is, unless someone puts their foot forward and asks for it to be made and starts, plugging away at it. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Although I didn't
and
know that there was a Timex Computer 2048 built in, which of course is just a Spectrum, really. But I didn't know that was there.
well, it
Never
is. It's
got it.
just a Spectrum, but it's using the the PAL version of the SCLD that
Right.
the Portugal computers were using,
Hmm.
right? So it can tap into those features that were in the SCLD. So I mean, it's a stepping stone to getting to the 2068 because
It
they're
is.
very similar, right? But yeah, so that's kind of what the Next kind of boils down to, and it was kind of the last thing that what was his name? Ian. He was the ID designer of the original ZX Spectrum. So he had a hand in the design of the next. That was kind of his last thing because he passed
Yep.
away, I think, in 19 or something like
Oh,
that.
of the
After he
shell,
kind
you
of
mean? You're talking about the
Yes.
shell
yeah,
itself?
yeah,
Yeah.
he designed the next shell, right?
Hmm.
The hardware design of it. So
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah,
linkage
it
back
looks
to
basically like the what is it, the 128 or something?
that's
Kind of.
Or
similar.
the
Yeah,
Inspired by Rick
yeah.
right,
Dickinson.
right. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Dickinson. What was it?
Rick
Wasn't
Dickinson.
Ian? Rick Dickinson. Right, right.
Yep.
He was the industrial designer for the original Spectrum back in
Yep.
the back in the day. So
Yeah. Yeah. And he, like you said, he passed away in 2018. Wow. I didn't realize that was that long ago.
yeah, because I
Hmm.
know the next project was before that. Because even the first Kickstarter, it still took them. Gosh, man, I think it was a year and a half before we actually got the physical machines.
It was a long time.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so yeah, they're kind of rare to get because that's the only way you can really get them is through the Kickstarter. They don't,
Hmm.
you can't just go buy one, on the shelf somewhere.
That's why I
Um,
would like to, for maybe not in this meeting, but in some future meeting, if anyone gets a an Ngo or one of the clones, because it's open source, the Spectrum Next, it's open
Mhm.
source hardware. And so there are several clones. I don't know them all. And Ryan was looking into it just the other day because he went after he came over and saw mine, he was like, "Well, this actually looks pretty cool. Maybe I should get one." But of course, they're not easy to get. So,
no,
and they're not, and even when you can, they're definitely not cheap. So I
Which
was really happy that I was able to get a decent price for mine.
which leads
And
us to the next
hmm,
thing, which
I,
would be
I,
the
I
the
can tell you back in the
alternatives.
day,
yeah, that's what I'm
the
saying.
Russian clone was not protected by copyright.
What was that?
So they cloned anything they could.
Yes, yeah, in
Yes.
Russia.
Yes. And it wasn't just computers.
I
Well,
even found one day at a car swap meet bootleg counterfeit Sharpie pens.
why not?
Okay.
As you do.
I don't know. Have you seen the Buron or whatever, however you pronounce it?
Oh, the
Space
space
shuttle?
shuttle? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
freaking got interchangeable parts with ours. Yes.
Mhm.
No, it doesn't.
well, don't knock it because look where China is today, economically. And that's how they got their start was basically just, copying things. And of course they have a huge market within, their own country, but still, that takes some of, amount of ingenuity and engineering to be able to, reverse engineer and copy somebody else's thing. Now, selling it back to us is kind of a different story, but of course they could sell it to everybody in China, right, and make a lot of money. So they got way more population than we do.
Adam, you mentioned
Yeah.
the basic, and it
Oh,
reminded me.
Spectrum Next Basic?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
reminded me of. Has anybody done anything with the Jupiter Ace?
Oh, the fourth.
That's
I don't.
I got interested in that. This is the 35th anniversary. This is Stephen Vickers, one of the other Sinclair
Oh,
guys.
it's a new book?
It's a reprint of the 1980 whatever 82
Oh,
book. So it's from the uh there's a Jupiter Ace group or whatever that has all the documentation and so forth. You can get a PDF of it, but it's a new printing of the original book. So
okay.
So
but
Jeff,
yeah,
I'm looking it up on Amazon and I found the 35th. There's also a 40th anniversary edition.
uh-oh, mine's out of date already. Holy smokes.
I'm thinking, oh, 35th, cool. All right, I'm gonna get one.
But it's so if you're not familiar with it, it's Stephen Vickers and I can't remember the other guy that
Richard Altwasser.
yes, thank you. And it's very, very similar to the ZX81. It doesn't have a ULA and it has always running video hardware, more like the Spectrum. So the processor is running fourth all the time, but it only has 3K of RAM. uh,
Wow.
for the
Which
for
is
your
probably
first
why
one.
they gave it fourth because,
Yeah.
but then again, I guess they give basic to the ZX80, so never mind.
Yeah, and then and the and it has only text mode. It doesn't have any graphics, but all the characters are the character generator is out of RAM. So when it starts up, it copies from ROM into the character generator RAM area. And then you can do user definable characters. You can redefine any character you want, and you can make whatever glyphs or shapes or bullets or bombs or space invaders or pieces of, high resolution, whatever. So you get the 256 by 192 or whatever it was, and an 8 by 8 cell, but you have complete definition of that. So real
From
simple
what I
design.
understand, it was mostly a language for robotics, and Forth was used when they were creating the Star Wars movies. At least the first few, I believe, to run all their cameras and such like.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because that was technology that Lucas invented, those motion control cameras and whatnot. So to get repeated shots with different elements.
Yeah, with like from different color, or like how they would do the different lights and things, and have to shoot it again and again and again.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting stack-based, language, and it's all about the dictionary. You need to find words in terms of other words, but they're essentially subroutine calls. So there's no compilation per se, or there's compilation, but it's what's the pointer to the other thing that you're looking up. So I'm still an early student of it, but
And you're just using it through emulation, or you bought the hardware as well?
I have not found the hardware. The circuit design is pretty simple, so I'm going to start with my usual build a simulator and then maybe make some, generate some hardware. Probably use I'm thinking of a Z80 and either like a Pi Pico or an ESP32 to emulate all the memory and all the decoding, and also do the video generation, so you can drive like a.
I believe there is already a Jupiter race emulator. Give me a second.
Oh, yeah, there are.
Yeah.
But the fun isn't, running it. The fun is building it. So for me, at least.
Yeah, and I think finding real Jupiter Ace hardware, I think those are kind of, more expensive, pricey these days.
They didn't make very many. They were only in
Right.
business for a couple of years, and then they went out of business, and they were selling them for like $10 or something. I'm like, man, I wish.
Anyway, the 81 emulator does have an emulation of the Jupiter 8, Jupiter Ace.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I've lost a tooth and I have difficulty with some words.
Oh,
now you're laughing at me, eh?
No.
We're laughing with you.
So
yeah. Like I'm supposed to believe that.
And I saw the Minstrel, the Minstrel emulator. There's a couple of different projects out there. The interesting part about those is they're very well documented as far as how the circuitry worked and how the memory. It has weird memory decoding. There's two. It's like the ZX81 that has partial memory decoding, but one part of if you access it through one bank of memory, it prioritizes the CPU access. If you access it the other address bank, it's prioritizing the video stream out, and it'll pause the CPU to avoid contention. So that's how it gets a stable video at the expense of temporarily pausing your CPU while it's conflicting access. So interesting little tricks, like just a small number of chips. It was a very small machine like the ZX81.
Didn't some of the team that worked on it come from Sinclair or something like that?
Vickers and Atwell, they were both Sinclair people.
Yeah, sounds like a real poor man's DMA access kind of for the RAM, for the memory, for the screen.
Yeah.
And the screen memory is compatible with the Spectrum? The memory scanning?
No, there's nothing compatible with the Spectrum about it. That was part of the problem with the Jupiter Aces. It was compatible with nothing, and it had fourth.
Yeah. And very few, everybody else in the world has.
Jeff likes it. Don't pick on it.
Oh no, it's a cool machine.
That's why it's interesting. It's a very esoteric sort of.
How did it go? When it first came out, did people like it?
No.
At least 10 or 20 of them.
Look at Carl.
Yeah.
No.
No.
It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't real popular. Like I said, they were in trouble. They were in business, what, two years maybe, and they were in trouble after one or something like that. So
Yeah, yeah. And then there were like two models. There was the initial Ace, and then there was like Ace 4000 or something. I don't know the
yeah,
difference
yeah.
between
I think they
between.
were almost the same. They may have went from two ROM EPROMs to one or something like that.
Yeah. Didn't
Basically
it
the
have
same.
a squishy keyboard like the similar to the Spectrum?
I don't know if it's squishy, but it wasn't membrane like the ZX81. It
I
was
thought it had like the little
click.
dome keys. They would
Yeah.
actually click, but they were like, they made some of those for the ZX81 where they actually had clicky keys.
Yeah.
But it's like they were like a calculator keyboard is what it was, I think, on the Ace.
Well, let me pop it up on the screen.
Yeah, I think it was like a calculator keyboard.
It
Or
kind
maybe
of,
not.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Metallica?
I don't think those are rubber though. I think those are plastic.
Hard.
So,
Okay.
but I don't know. I haven't seen one. So, I
Yeah, I've
mean,
never seen one
I've
in.
seen those pictures, but yeah.
Let's see if they mention what the keyboard.
It's no token, right? I see the letters only on the keyboard.
Correct. Yeah, there's no tokens.
Wow.
Okay.
On that page, it says it only sold about 5,000 units.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. These suckers are rare. Because like
Yeah, that's what
the ZX80 sold at least 50,000, if
Wow.
not more.
yeah, that's what I was saying. Trying to find like an original one like that you could actually buy the original one. You're going to pay, some good money for it.
But now I understand why Jeff wants to program in fourth because there's such a huge user base for his programs. He can sell it and make a mint, right? For his programs.
So I guess they were rubber keys, but they were conductive in it says there.
Yeah,
Oh, they
So
were
just,
rubber. Okay,
yeah,
so it was the rubber.
it
Okay.
kind of
Yeah,
looks like
so
they are rubber, but yeah,
probably the rubber with the little pill in it.
yeah, it had
Yeah.
like the
Oh,
the
what you got
copper.
there, David? Show that again, David.
ZX fourth, right? Is that what that was?
What's that?
So,
David, what
David,
did you
what was
just show
that? Hold
us?
that up
Oh,
again.
David. I'm sorry.
The
Hang on,
ZX
David. Let
fourth.
me find
Yeah.
Oh,
you.
other David, sorry. Introduction to
Uh,
fourth. Oh.
okay, hold it up. There you go, David. Thank you. Oh, in French. En français,
Oh.
as my French teacher used to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were the languages back in the 70s and 80s, right? Forth, Pascal,
French.
COBOL,
Got a lot. It's got logo on there. Lisp, Pascal. It says. Never heard of
And
Amber,
me
but
either.
Lisp.
that's yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Logo is pretty fun if anyone's ever tried it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not bad. Oh, hang on, David. I'm going to spotlight you again. Okay. Oh, but you.
No, I think he meant okay. Hold it there, but
All right. We'll see if he
well,
opens.
it's all in French anyway.
yeah,
So
that's
Yeah,
true.
right.
unless you understand French.
Well,
Which
David said he
is
took some classes. He was going to translate for us. So
which
Well,
is and that's a weird thing because that happened to me on my first job when I was working with people in Spain on the machine that we were building, and but the software was written in C, and I'm thinking, well, that's great because we both know the C language, so it'll be like a lingua franca. We'll be able to understand each other's programs. And it wasn't the case at all because all the variable names that they did were in Spanish, all the comments were in Spanish, and that sort of thing. And it was like it completely, yeah, I could understand the while loops and the for loops and so forth, but everything else didn't make any
hmm
sense.
well,
And
I
it
mean,
was
that's like supposing
unusual.
like just because they use the same alphabet basically. So, but we still can't read it unless you know the
Right,
language.
right.
Yeah.
But my point was that even though the C language was in fact the same,
No, I follow. Yeah.
there's the comments and the variable names and that sort of thing that is where your local culture sort
That's
of.
why we should have just one letter variables.
There
That
you
makes the
go.
most sense.
Sure.
That's what we
Yeah.
Yeah.
need.
one
And only
letter
20, only
variables.
26 of them.
Only
Yes.
26.
Uh,
You get creative in your
And no
usage.
comments. The comments
And
are
no
just
comments. Get those out of there.
read the source. Just read the source. That's all you need to do.
yeah, it would be like any language, right? Like even assembly, right? Assembly is going to be assembly no matter if you're French or English or German. But yeah, like you said, the comments and your labels and the mnemonics will all be the same, so you could
Right.
probably understand it if you went through it. But yeah, you wouldn't be able to read the comments, and the labels would be a little weird.
Well, there were some comments from assembly like the move ACC comma one or whatever it is in 8080, and then the comment was or seven, move A comma seven, and the comment that the guy wrote was put seven in the accumulator, and I'm like, really, you putz? I mean, this is you completely miss why seven and why the accumulator,
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where you need seven to go.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, it's fully commented. Like,
This is
great.
self-evident here, Jeff.
Never
Yeah,
would.
that's like the flow charts where they just put the code in the boxes, It's not really helping.
Yeah.
Brian, you started to say something in follow-up about the Spectrum Next. About, I feel like 20 minutes ago almost.
Yeah, tangent.
You're talking. I think he was talking about the NGO and
The
like
alternatives.
Yeah.
So since we can't, this is my point, is we always talk about the Spectrum Next Kickstarter and we never talk about the Spectrum Next. And so when we get to the Kickstarter, we get to, well, you can't get one, but then there are also alternatives out there. And I started to look at them a little bit. One of them, I forget which one it was. It was maybe it's the Xberry Pi. Seemed like it was pretty fiddly to get it to go, but or at least get the software going. But anyway, there's a couple of alternatives. The Xberry Pi, I guess, is a Raspberry Pi size thing, and then the NGO is, I guess, the board, the same size board, or I don't know if it's the same size board or it's, I think it purports to be, you could put it in a Spectrum case. Maybe you could do that with the Spectrum Next board. I don't know, but anyway, there's alternatives out there too, as well as apparently emulation within ZX, which I guess I had working, but I've just not gone and looked at.
Well, that's, I don't know. To me, that's kind of putting the chicken before the egg there, because the Next is an FPGA thing, but here you are emulating the Next. Why don't you just use like a Spectrum emulator? Because it's like you can't emulate the hardware through software. You know what I mean? You won't be able to get the accurate timing. That's why the Next exists, because it's a hardware emulation. And so it's kind of funny,
Well, then no, I disagree with that. I mean, then the Next is, then when you get the Next, unless you knew like about its personalities, it really pushes you using it in Next mode only. Like
Yeah, I mean,
the whole book is just about the Next and using a Next mode.
Right. Well, that's what it was developed. You're right.
Right.
But I mean, it's new to me that there's actually clones of the Next out. I didn't know that it would get that popular, but I mean, I guess since you can't get it, but I thought somebody said it was open source.
Yeah, it's open source.
It is. Yeah.
Is the hardware open source?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can make your own boards and build your own, build your own hardware.
If we only knew a guy.
You're right.
If we only knew a guy. Maybe that guy with the circuit board in his background.
I don't know. You might want to talk to Jeff. He's the FPGA guy.
No, I think the emulation is just like the Next programming environment or something like that. Probably. That'd be my guess. I've not really looked at it.
No, that's fine.
Because
I'm not poo-pooing on it. It's just,
I didn't know it was my time to look at.
It's just kind of funny that they're doing software emulation of something that's emulating the hardware of the original machine. It's just kind of,
I think
kind of funny.
I think it actually came out software emulation before the hardware came out.
But I don't think that's what they're doing. I think it's just emulating the Next programming environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the Next programming environment runs on the FPGA,
well, I know
core.
Well, sure, it runs on an FPGA, but it's emulating just using Next Basic, I think.
Yeah, I can see that, I suppose, but
Well, it's
I just
something we
don't know
haven't talked
why.
about the next,
Because you
because
don't need it to emulate the other machines. You've got emulators for those. So I think
Right, right.
it's just probably emulating the Next
Yeah,
Basic
Next
part.
Basic and Next all the menu system that the Next has. Right, right.
so when you start up the next, well, not just when you start it, at any point you can change its CPU speed, and it
Mhm.
can run at 3.5, 14, and up to
7, I
28.
think that,
I
yeah.
think there's 4 different. But Ryan was doing some tests here, and he was happy to see that just even in the if you're not in the Spectrum Next mode, but just in the Spectrum mode, which is the only mode we've tested so far, um, and I guess the 81 as well. Um, but it runs that faster. So it is pretty neat to see that if you wanted to, and you could run a Spectrum program at 28 megahertz on real hardware, I guess.
Yeah, the other thing too is the expansion bus was, I think, Spectrum. So you could actually plug real hardware into the
Yeah.
Spectrum Next
Yep.
and it would work.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not on by default, however, for whatever reason, but it's there.
Yeah,
Oh,
because I don't
good.
think anybody was planning to do that, but I know that was part of the design. And I know when they did the second gen or the second Kickstarter, they had to fix some stuff around the expansion bus. They had to put more filtering or something like that on it. I
Oh,
mean,
I
like I
don't
said,
know.
I have the first one, I have the original one, and I kind of pimped it out, right? I've got the Raspberry, the Pi Zero in there,
Oh,
and
do
I've
you?
got the extra RAM, and I got the Wi-Fi card, and it didn't come with all that. I added that later, but yeah, I pimped it out. It's pretty
I don't
much.
even know if mine has the Pi Zero in there, honestly. I know
Yeah,
it
you
has the
don't need it.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't need it. It's just for certain things, but
Yeah.
I think it gives you
It lets you load
maybe,
TZX files.
yeah, something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
But the
Adam,
Pi Zero is cheap, so
yeah,
Yes.
Adam, your is fully equipped with
Oh, is
everything.
it? Oh,
Yeah,
thank you, Joseph.
oh,
I
okay,
didn't,
cool.
I didn't, you sold it to me, so
you can see it from the back. There are connectors from the Pi Zero at the
oh, I
back.
Hmm.
guess I can
Yeah,
load up some TZX files and check it out.
yeah,
And
and mod files from Amiga
oh, okay.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
well,
haven't played with mine in a couple of years, so yeah, I mean, like I can't remember. I've forgotten more about it than
I wonder if
I
there's any
probably.
like Spectrum Next programs we could run on each other's machine or and play against one another. That'd be kind of cool, Carl.
Yeah.
Like not many people are probably doing that. You bring over your first generation, come over here, leave it here, and I'll check it out.
So in Kickstarter 3,
Yeah.
there were actually several stretch goals, and one stretch goal was football multiplayer over network, I think.
Oh, okay.
So there are definitely projects like network based.
Mhm. Plus,
And
they
then,
came out with the Next magazine, right? Of course. So I
Yeah.
know I have a subscription to that. So there's
Oh,
programs in there for the Next.
I didn't know. Do you have the paper issues or the PDFs?
No, they're all PDFs. I don't,
Oh, okay.
yeah, because it's from overseas. So I didn't want them to, you
Yeah, it'd
know,
be expensive.
PDF
Hmm.
is just fine.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, the back issues I need to buy them. They're like only like $1.50 or 150 pounds, which is cheap. So
Yeah, I'm sure I
yeah.
got them somewhere because, like I said, they keep sending them. I think they maybe do it 4 times a year, maybe every quarter they send a new issue out. But I just remember it was for the Next. It's for
Yeah,
the Spectrum Next. Yeah.
it is.
Hmm. Is it mostly games, or I mean, or have you not really looked at the issues?
It doesn't really. I've looked through a couple of them, but it's more commentary. There's not a lot of programs in there that I remember seeing.
Okay.
It's more commentary on different things. And I think what's his name has one too. Oh God, what's his name? He was on our channel a couple of times. But he's the old crazy wild guy. He talks really loud and
David
what?
Anderson?
No, no, no.
No,
Oh
no,
God,
the
what the hell's his name? He's got all the machines, Ataris. He's got Sinclairs. He's got uh,
Hmm.
oh God, but what the? Anyway, he had an X too, and he was talking about some of the issues I remember on his
his
YouTube
name
channel.
TJ.
TJ, there you
Oh,
go. That's
TJ.
it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
He is wild.
Yes. He's got a, pretty high strung personality. No, nothing wrong with that. That's just, great.
Speaking of magazines, have you guys seen the reincarnated Compute
Oh,
Gazette?
Compute's Gazette? I have not. I
Okay.
mean, I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
It's all right.
I take that back. They were showing them at the show at the Midwest.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, they had
I'll
some
see
issues
it
there.
then. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's Commodore heavy. Um, and then Atari and Tandy to an extent. I think they've done some stuff for the, like the Z80 Tandys and the Coco. Um, it's all right. I mean, if you're into Commodores, definitely
What's the name of
worth
the
looking at.
magazine again?
It's called Compute Gazette. Let me see if I can find and they
Compute
Yeah.
Gazette.
I wonder
Literally,
if
they
they,
took the name of the old Compute
Commodore magazine.
right.
For instead of
Compute
calling it just
magazine.
Compute, which is they should have done, and everyone has said, they took the Compute's Gazette
Yeah, the Commodore
title,
specific version of Compute.
right, but it's all now it's just like the old Compute was.
Yep,
So
yep.
weird, kind of weird. But
It's kind of interesting too. I wonder if they kicked that off because Perry Fractic, bought all the rights to Commodore.
The guy who started it, when he started it, he made a post somewhere about, why he started it, why he called it that, why not, just call it something else. And, you know, yeah. Um, it's you can get a physical version, you can get just the PDF version.
Mm-hmm.
Um, certainly worth checking out if you're.
And I don't know if a lot of people know, like I said, Perry Fractic. Well, I guess he runs the um,
the rescue what?
Retro Recipes YouTube thing.
Oh, I don't know
Okay.
what that even is.
And he's a big Knight Rider fan. He's got a bunch of kit stuff, and
Oh,
he auctioned off a Tesla. I guess he turned his Tesla into a Knight Rider car, and I think he auctioned it off. I actually gave him some money for the auction, but it was not. It was a raffle. He raffled it off, and
wow.
I didn't get it. But anyway, yeah, he bought the rights to they're kind of just playing around with it, but I guess they contacted who had Commodores, intellectual rights and everything, trademarks and everything, and
Right.
they were like, well, you're a fan, you know more about these machines than we do, so maybe you would be interested in buying Commodore from us. So it was kind of he's got this all on his YouTube channel how they went through this, but it was kind of it wasn't a serious thing, but it turned serious pretty quick. And then he had to get all the money, and he got a lot of the original people from Commodore back in the day onto his board. The original,
Wow.
some of the engineers and even the original factory in the UK, I think, where they're making them right now, the new ones. They're actually make them in the original UK Commodore factory where they made them back in the 80s. So
Wait, they're making what? Recreations of the C64?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
called the Commodore 64 Ultimate, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've heard of that.
it's a
Okay.
brand new machine. Yeah, but you can buy it brand new, right? So
All
yeah.
the videos I saw from what he posted from the factory, it looked China, everything.
Oh,
I think,
really?
yeah, I don't think that there is Commodore production line able to do Commodore FPGA. Basically, the board is exactly the same as was the C64 Ultimate board, right? They
Right.
just got the rights and everything for
Mhm.
that, and did the injection molding for the cases, and it's kind of like the ZX Next, right? ZX Next. Only what they did was, instead of Kickstarter, they did pre-orders, right? Otherwise, it was
Right.
very similar. And they promised just C64, compatible hardware and so on, FPGA, right? Because that was all tried, so it went pretty fast. And basically, no other cores and so on that for example, the Mega 65 has, right? And
okay,
much more complicated, or ZX Next, right? Because that has all the actually in the Kickstarter 3, they already promised as a base. It was not even stretch goal, C64 core, full emulation that was based on the Mr. Emulation. They promised as well the Sinclair QL. They, as a stretch goal, they got to CPC Amstrad. So they and a full hardware core for ZX81. So because the current ZX81 is just like
emulation or
personality under the Spectrum, right?
And you're talking all these cores are going to be on the next, right? Is what you're saying? Okay.
But supposedly, like they make them all backward compatible.
Yes.
So I think they'll even work with yours, Carl.
Oh yeah, they should be because I mean it's
all the way.
Yeah, the FPGAs are different, but I mean they should be able to. You know, that's just a formality to the FPGA that they're using.
The only limitations I think was the size of memory that they all the official things they promise supporting the ZX Next one Kickstarter one, right? But there are some computers that may not have all the memory that you require, like for example the Sinclair QL, because that's a 68,000 based processor, right? And it doesn't have like bank paging and so on. So they probably will use as much memory as you will have, and it's hard to tell what programs it will.
Trying to think what you could expand. I think it was 512 meg, right? Or was it a meg?
For the QL, you go to 640K.
Or a gig.
128.
No. On the next, you can expand that. I think to 512 gig or maybe or 512 meg or maybe a gig.
It's 4 megabytes.
Yeah, 4 megabyte. Maybe that was what. Yeah, because I know I fully expanded it, and you had to add more memory chips onto the motherboard.
I think that you could expand Kickstart 1, I think, to 2 megabytes. But they promised Kickstart 3 to have 4 megabytes, but still everything that they produce run on the 2 megabyte of Kickstart 1. But I think that that Kickstart 2 was non-expandable and had already like maxed up memory for that FPGA that they used.
Yeah, that was a long wait for 2. Whoever got into on 2 because COVID hit, and then it took I think 3 years maybe or more before they got their machines. Yeah.
And everything ported to the new FPGA and then make it compatible. So there is just one distribution for both FPGA types, right? And Kickstarter 3 will have a third FPGA, which is compatible with the Kickstarter 3, Kickstarter 2, but will be like bigger, right? So yeah. But everything, as was mentioned, everything is open source, including cores, including the programming equipment, including the hardware, and the end goal is basically implementation of Kickstart 1 because it was the easiest to do. I by the way, I have end goal in ZX Plus case. So if somebody wants,
maybe you and Ryan can talk a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, the motherboard, at least for the one that I have, it can go into a Spectrum case. It's a little longer, but I mean, it'll fit in there.
So there are 2 variants of ZX Next, right? One is board that fits in Spectrum case, and one is full, like with the daughter board that is there with the SD card that actually goes into the ZX Next case,
right?
Which is a bit different proportions, and the ports are moved like for joysticks and stuff. But you can see, for example, for NGO, when you buy, there are like 4 joystick ports, but you only populate 2 based on whether you want one position or the ZX Next position or things like that. So it's it's compatible. But
what about the cases for these?
So NGO basically goes into, if you slightly modify case for 48K Spectrum.
Okay,
that's directly a replacement of the built-in board, except if you want some ports. You need to cut out, like, because joysticks are in front, and there are some video outputs like HDMI and so on and back that you don't have normally. But I think that as a basic, you don't need to cut anything. you only don't have access to like the side buttons that are for
Right.
Or like the
NMI
NMI.
and so on. So you would need to at least have somehow access to that, right? But
Well, you can get to all those like through like if you plug in a PS2 keyboard, right?
yes,
Yeah.
there is a PS2 expansion that has mapped function keys to all these other
Yeah.
Well,
features.
I guess more my question was, like the next case, can you get that
Next
or
case
not?
is Kickstart only,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay.
Even Ngo, the case that they have, they are selling case that is acrylic cut and so on, and it's basically for the 48K compatible case.
Oh, so you can get a pre-cut case then
For
the Ngo.
Ngo, they are selling, and it has
Okay.
actually mechanical keyboard with mechanical switches and so on, like the standard mechanical switches, which is nice because
Oh,
the
yeah.
ZX Next has really nice keyboard, but it's like laptop keyboard, right? With
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
profile and
Very much. Yeah,
it's
it's taken me a
custom.
while to get used to it, but it's,
Yeah, laptop keyboard.
Okay, the Ngo is sounding pretty good then.
It's expensive, right? Because you need to order it from Europe.
Yeah.
And the keyboard is like, I don't know how much more, but it's pretty significant bump up over just shipping the small PCB, right? Because the PCB is size of the 48K Spectrum PCB.
Let me pop that up on the screen. Is this not going to be Zoom? All right, well, do the best I can.
What was that, David?
I'm going to try to put here we go. This is an Ngo.
Oh.
For
Yes.
some reason, it doesn't let you actually zoom in on the screen, but you can see that it has a.
Well, I mean, it's zooming in. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like get a full size image, but
Oh.
the keys are nice. They've got all the little labels on them. Ryan, you should get one of these and report back.
Yes.
I'm
By the next
volunteering you,
meeting.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh, that actually, wow, that looks nice.
Yeah.
It's only 270 euros, which is probably $300.
Yeah, right.
Plus shipping, plus
shipping,
tariffs,
plus
right?
the
Yeah, but
tariffs.
that's cheaper than the next, right? I mean,
no, not in the end. Euro is different than dollars, right? You need to
Euros even more than pounds, yeah.
Well, okay, so
well, the other thing is if you can get the pieces, you can 3D print those like here. Get a 3D print house to print those for you. Although they look like they have silk screening on them.
They
for
do.
like 9 volts on off. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is laser cut acrylic.
Yeah, it looks like it.
It has this posts that you screw through.
Yeah, these little hex bind standoff posts. Okay, and so a board. Oh, you know what? That was the Wi-Fi plus the RP Raspberry Pi Zero. You can get it for $230 if you don't want the Wi-Fi or the Raspberry Pi, which lets you load TZX files and I don't know what else it does for you.
Well, you can add those later.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Pi Zero costs like $10, right? The only thing is that you need to solder the header, and it needs to be soldered on the opposite side and what you actually can buy with, and it's the female version. So it's a bit tricky to if somebody cannot solder, right, to modify the Pi Zero.
Wow, that's a nice looking set of keycaps.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing I was wishing we could do. And yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how he does that.
It's like I said, it's crazy that they're making a a clone of the Next. It's kind of that's great. I mean, it's it's just kind of strange to me.
But why do you think it's strange?
Well, the Next is such a niche
Niche
project
yeah.
anyway, but like I said, I think it's just from the availability standpoint. that that's why they're doing this, is they're making it more accessible, right, to people that didn't get in on the Kickstarter.
Right.
Still certainly not a cheap machine in any case, but
ZX Next is niche for US, right? In Europe, it was the system, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah,
most of people grew up on ZX Spectrums, and in Eastern Bloc there was no like alternative other than clones of ZX Spectrums, right? Because you could not replicate like C64 in the logic chips that USSR had
right.
And,
well, Joseph, you brought that up the other day in a message. Why don't you tell us about your background? You grew up in Czechoslovakia, you said.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about that?
So I don't know how deep I should go, because there is so much, and I actually, but since Friday I got the book.
Oh, okay. I ordered it. I'm supposed to be getting mine tomorrow.
Yugoslav. Yeah, it's pretty thick, so I haven't seen it yet. What exactly is in, but the photos look like exactly what I remember, and also I don't have any presentation or anything, so my memory maybe after those decades a bit fuzzy in details. But yeah, I was actually it was kind of tricky, right, to get into computers, because the Eastern Bloc was kind of behind in like many years before people were able to like reverse engineer the chips and stuff like that from West, or people smuggled enough of computers, right? But at some point, like in second half of 80s, there started to be like computers 8080 based, like custom design and so on. Those were usually in school, and they were not produced to be cheap. They usually had like custom monitors and so on. But at some point,
did these colors? Did they have color? These computers?
No, those like some of those like IQ 151 was like very low resolution, purely like black and white and so on. All 8080 based. Of course, not even original Intel, right? It was all reverse engineered. But at some point, this computer, I actually have the Didactic Gamma.
Nice. Here it is. I just got it right here.
I don't know how well you see it, but it's like hard plastic, and the keyboard is actually with like gold contacts underneath, with very low travel, so it was not comfortable that much. But these were like clone of ZX Spectrum, and I don't know, it came like in 87, and also for school. But I like the reasoning was probably because they had so much software, right? And there was no like licensing IP or any consideration like that. In behind the basically the Eastern Bloc border, everything was like copied from the West.
Well, that sounds like how it was everywhere anyway, for the most part. But
yeah, and there was no like way to buy anything like directly, right? So you had, but it was interesting. I may even open this. It was interesting. I don't know how much you can see. This version was very hacky. Like if you see the diagram, it's not very well done, but it had the last revision of ZX Spectrum ULA. It had like Eastern German Z80 clone, and it had I don't know if I cannot see but it had like Toshiba or MT chips, RAM chips, and at this point the RAM chips actually were pretty reliable, right? Not like when Sinclair first started the ZX Spectrum.
What is the date code of the chips? 86, 87? The date code of the manufacturer.
Yeah, this was 87, and I cannot see it. It's not much light here, but this particular computer is from 88.
So
year.
And Joseph, you said that had a Spectrum, a real Sinclair ULA in there?
Yes, I don't know how they got to that, but they are Ferranti ULA, the Dash 7, the latest version. So they probably bought some old stock from West and somehow got it into over the border. And actually, all other parts are Eastern except the ULA, and that one is like strange, right? But they were doing like other things, like for example in Yugoslavia, they were buying the whole Spectrum computers. They were sending down Sinclair a name and putting over that sticker the ones that we had were called Delta. It was Delta computer. It was just send it Sinclair logo and put some logo and otherwise it was exactly like full computer with everything inside was Sinclair, right? It was ZX Plus, ZX Spectrum Plus case.
Do you know if you use a Timex computer there?
No, I came to first see Timex computers when I moved to US, right? So it was the closest to Spectrum, so that's how I got first to actually get my hands on Timex computers.
Because one clone was made in Poland.
Yeah, that's true. And they got like a whole community around that, but that was PAL version, right? It was not the Timex Sinclair 60 hertz NTSC, and it was not even Sinclair, right, at that point.
UK 2086 is the model made there.
Yeah, the Poland, I didn't see those computers. I know that they had some community that actually even modified the Timex to be 128 Spectrum compatible and so on, with some external boards and. But I haven't seen any of those computers. I think they were pretty rare. Much rarer than, for example, like Atari, right? Because Atari was imported, probably like second most common computers that you could see.
Well, Jack Tramiel or however you say his name, he like went out of his way, right? I think to get those Atari computers there, like when he bought the company in '86.
Yeah, and
or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I think that Poland, especially where Jack was from, right?
Yeah,
was like flooded with Ataris, and there is, I think, demo scene and so on still going on.
Yeah. When I have real hardware, I always want to look at like demo scene stuff that comes out of Europe, but I have an NTSC machine, so a lot of it just doesn't work.
True, but that's true for C64 as well, which is strange, right? Because so many like demos and games that were really good, and even Amiga at the end, because
well, at least the Amiga is easy to put back and forth between NTSC and
you can switch. But a lot of programs that are for C64 are European versions, so they are like good programs. So, what I wanted to say that to continue with how these computers were like put together, because they had full 64-bit chips, right? No like half memory bed and collected to 48K. They actually were doing things like, if you see, there are three holes. One is reset, one is power, and one is bank. So they actually had the 32K that was original Spectrum, the top RAM. They had both. Okay, so they were like, okay, so let's use both and let's switch them, right? So this was even after 128K Spectrum was already implementing like switching and so on. They did custom switching, so you could access 80 kilobytes of RAM on these computers because they didn't want to waste the memory, right? So and it was like originally made pretty expensive. It was bought by school only, and they had like proper connectors for peripherals and so on. Later, they were getting cheaper and cheaper. This is like the 89 version. of the computer. So not only color change, but it's way more tidy. Everything is like nicely reorganized, right? And still original Sinclair ULA, everything socketed almost. They got rid of the ports, like the connectors, because they were expensive. So it's just the edge connector now, as on other computers. And this was just 1 year before like the revolution, right, came. And at that moment, I think that USSR produced their own version of Sinclair ULA, and it kind of caused like Cambrian explosion, right, of all the Soviet clones. So almost everything that you can see in the Soviet, all these various models are coming after 1990, about.
Wow.
Which is like weird because it's almost end of 80-bit computers in the US, for example, right?
Sure.
It's maybe C64 were still produced in some limited amount, right? But you can see that I don't have it here, but the successor of this is called Didactic Gamma, right? The successor was Didactic M, and that used the Soviet ULA, and everything was cheapened out even more. So it was like half price of this, and this was half price of like Spectrum, right, at that point. Yes, that's the ULA.
Wow.
And
is that the Russian one? Is that what you were talking about?
You can tell by the part number.
And there were, and you can see this was from 93, right? That was very late.
Wow.
The first versions were from like late 80s.
91.
Yes. Yes. And there were like significant differences. For example, because they didn't follow exactly the ULA specification, right? It was just running on 4 megahertz instead of for 3.5. And the processor was slowed down no matter where it read from memory. So it was like kind of running almost the same speed as the Spectrum on 3.5 megahertz, only because the ULA was stopping the processor no matter what, right? And things like that. There were other like small changes, like the sound was separated from tape outputs and inputs, and I think in Spectrum it's like multiplexed. And one thing that they did that they didn't bother anymore, like doing some smart stuff, like in the Gamma with the bank switching and so on. They just put 64 kilobytes of memory, like 8 chips, 64-bit, right? And just put ROM over the first 16, and they didn't bother activate the RAM or basically let the ROM override the values when read. No bank switching, so basically they were wasting like 16 kilobytes, not even trying to implement some switching that would enable CPM, for example, like for all RAM mode. Everything was like as cheap as possible. Everything, including like joystick boards, were edge connectors, so you had to create your own basically conversions, right? They were producing like also joysticks like that were specifically for this computer, which was like probably similar quality like the Amstrad's SJS, or what was the custom.
Read that the expansion port is slightly different than the Spectrum. It's not exactly the same.
The expansion port, there was big differences between even the two computers I was showing, because the ULA was the same here, and that the ULA was producing like the YUV signals for colors and so on. There was very different power supply, so you didn't have like the 9 volts and so on. You had like 12 volts and 5 volts coming directly from supply, and then the Didactic M even had like non-stabilized 15 volts and things like that. And the Soviet ULA didn't even produce the YUV; it produced RGB. So there was big like internal change. So there were big difference. There were also some hardware like bugs in this. For example, they forgot few of the signals to actually put on the edge connector. So people had to at home like solder different bridges if they want to make some, for example, disk drive work and so on. After the 1990, they actually started introducing peripheries, and they could have taken some design maybe from the West, but maybe at this point the IP was not as free as it was before. So they did their custom designs, and you can see that there were a lot of peripheries like disk drive and so on that were very specific just for this region. Russia had this TR-DOS based systems in the Czechoslovakia. At that point, there were like these disk drives D40, which was 5.25 inches, D80, which was 3.5 inches, and that was completely like custom. Nothing was similar to that.
Not use CP/M as base, right? It's a proprietary software.
Yes, it was MDOS, which was completely like its own thing. Then in I think it was 93, that was like the very end where the Amiga computers started to be really affordable, and these computers didn't get like much cheaper, right? Because you can get only to some costs with limited amount. They actually put this custom disk drive system and the computers together, and they had like a product that was Didactic Compact, which looked kind of like maybe similar to Mega 65. I would compare it in the shape and form, but it was the same very cheap system with just disk drive inside and a power supply inside. And that was probably the last kind of year where it was possible to produce system like that. And then I think in 94, I think that ESCOM bought Amiga, and I think that Amiga got so cheap that it was basically the same price, the like 1200, like these 8-bit systems, right? And I personally switched to Amiga at that point, so it was for me kind of, I still had Spectrum, but at that moment I think I had Spanish version of Plus 2B, because there were again like big sales from maybe Spain or something that were coming over the border, and finally with the free market and so on, we could finally afford something original, even though it was Spanish version with Spanish manual. I could not speak Spanish, but the programs were still the same. I think that there is so much like that can be talked about, like that probably the book mentions, like what was the other computers and what was the schools. But yeah, I would probably leave it here, and just if you have questions or particular interest.
When did you come to the US?
I came 2014.
2014?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so relatively speaking, that's kind of late, in the Timex timeline. So what made you seek out the Timex computers?
That's basically the closest you can get to the spectrums, right, on this side.
Yeah.
It was interesting, like how many things were like really like parallel world, right? It's like the 2068 had so many things that would have been so nice to have in 128K, right? Which got much more popular, and even there were like things that like modifications and so on. I personally actually had one modification of the clone computer that expanded to 120K, but it was like not fully compatible and so on. But in Timex, you had this ULA in 83 that could do like a high resolution, right? High horizontal resolution that 128K didn't have, like color per line, attributes per line, right? Instead of per 8 lines, which it's like you could see after 90s where, for example, I don't know if anybody heard about MB disk drive, like MB2, MB3 now, I think is that was like very flexible system that was able to read like high HD2 floppies, right, the PC ones.
And this is for the Spectrum?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it had like a battery backup, half megabyte or something memory, and it could page anything to anywhere. And the one of the really advanced features was that it uses Z80 DMA or something like basically the Zilog DMA chip, which allowed it to like read like 40 kilobytes per second or something like that. So you could see that you could see animations directly like from floppy and so on on Spectrum. That was interesting, but also because it was so flexible, it allowed basically the Timex mode for attributes per line instead of the 8 lines, because it was like just basically like Blitter, right, in Amiga. It was just transferring memory without CPU involvement. So it was kind of doing all this work, and there are some demos even on YouTube where they show of this like really fast full screen scrolling and so on, which was another use that was probably more.
And Joseph, say that again. I want to write that down. I want to look that up, or maybe you can type it into the thing here and just I'll grab it out of there.
About
the name of the disk drive, or
like MB
MB 2 or 3 exists, 2 models, and Plus also.
Yeah, there was MB1 that was like the first prototype, but MB2 was when it was actually productionalized. It was not just a hobby kit, and it allowed connecting to ID devices and so on. I don't know if maybe if you had there was one person in particular that was making and I'm not sure if he's in the group or not. He was Slovak, Slavomir Lapsky. I think he has done something like interlace demo, and he did it for Timex computer. I think that was one of the things I think I saw in this group, like in the mail group.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually was one of the 2 authors of the MB system. He was doing mainly the software and all the demos, and I think he has YouTube channel that shows off these things.
You mentioned Sharak Adamski or
Slavomir Lapsky. I will maybe
Jarek. Correct.
Yeah, I may send a message with what I was talking about into either comments in the YouTube when it's uploaded or in the Timex group. So,
cool.
So this is I just put in so people could check if they want to. This is the interlace demo running on my NTSC 2068. I did that a few years ago. I don't remember exactly when.
I remember that.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Still is probably.
It still is, yes.
Yeah, I think that the disk drive system was like probably the most that you could get for Spectrum or for anything 8-bit at the time, because it was like the fastest reads and all this independence from processor, right, and so on. It was better than Amiga, so at that moment.
Take that back. Take that back.
Amiga cannot read the HD2 disks without slowing down, right? That's what the special floppy drives on Amiga do.
Yeah,
right? They
high
slow
density
down
yeah.
because the Pola chip, or which one was it? Pola?
I don't remember. Maybe Agnes. I don't remember.
Yeah, it didn't have the bandwidth, right? Because they didn't change it since the first version of Amiga 500, where the floppies were only DD. So
yeah, but I remember, that the Amiga was first begun being created in '83. So
yeah,
pretty crazy.
That's basically like 10 years before this system was prototyped. Right?
Cool. Thank you, Joseph. That was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Our impromptu Eastern Bloc didactic instruction.
Yeah, there was some discussion from Brett, right?
Yeah.
Also because he's doing a lot of these deep dives into the systems on YouTube, and he has a lot of these Soviet clones that nobody heard about. But yeah, for example, I think that these didactic gammas yet are not on YouTube really, treated in the same way. So hopefully it will get at some point there as well. But I think that he has the videos for the Didactic M that I didn't show. That was the successor, and he was in some videos doing like RGB modification for that. So you can see that system there and how cheaply it is made actually.
Yeah, Ryan and I, not together, but Ryan and I yesterday both watched one of Brett's videos, the one that was about when he was going through the eBay video, I guess eBay listings, yeah. And that's the one he recommended. I said, recommend one, and then he sent me a list, or sent the group a list of like 400 videos. I was like, well, that's quite a bit to get started with.
Yep.
Where to start? Joseph, what was the community like for you? I mean, were there a lot of people that you knew that had didactics, or was it kind of a rare thing, or?
Yeah, it was tricky, right? Because that was pre-internet or pre-anything almost. So most of the things that you could see were either like classmates with similar similar systems, or they were like centrally organized, like by government, right? Like interest groups and kind of like scout thing, but it was basically centrally planned all, and there were groups that were dedicated to computing. So in some cities there were places where people just gathered and exchange software, right, and pirated everything, because everything was basically from like UK and imported and so on, and were exchanging programs and so on, exchanging peripheries and so on. I was in very small town in middle of nowhere, so I in every class I had like one buddy or somebody that I could exchange, but usually you just had to subscribe to some magazines that had actually more information, where you could get other things and where you could order some software, and there were some like piracy hotspots, that you get like catalog of all the pirated software, and you just send a tape, and they send you back tape with like copied programs, right? That you specified, and it was like really like cheap for people to really like get 10 tapes with like 100 programs or something, or games.
Wow.
And yes, a lot of people also around me had like Atari, and one had actually C64. So the interaction was like I was playing Fantasy World Dizzy on Spectrum, right, or Didactic, and he was playing it on C64, and we were like just like, oh, I got there, and but yeah, it was mostly either organized from some volunteer clubs, or you had magazines, or you could go to library, and maybe they had one of those 5 books that were published with basic listings and so on. you could get some education from there. There was not much.
But those were probably written for like other basics, right? Or were they going to be for your version of basic?
Well, since this was like the most popular system at some point from late 80s, it was mostly targeted for that, especially Z80 or similar, because there was not many systems except for the Atari with 6502. Even the Sharp MZ, that was like third popular, but I had never seen anybody who had it, I think was Z80 based. And there were also magazines that were like general magazines for like youth that had some dedicated space for like computers, and often they had like internal 4 pages or something with 2 listings for different computers. So that was one of the things that we also had in the end, which I think in US was much more widespread. But
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, Joseph, I have a question for you. There's a person named František Fuka. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, I met him personally, actually.
Oh, okay.
I visited him once.
He was, I'm trying to think, we talked about this in the past in one of our Zoom meetings. He was on shoot, a podcast. Oh my gosh. It's coming up in Google for me. Oh no, it's not coming up in Google for me.
So he was kind of like a legend almost, because he was not just doing like ZX Spectrum, because he had the ZX 128K and did a lot of like music, but he was also like selling programs at some point with his address and phone number and stuff like that, and a lot of things that I got like pirated software had his name, right, and had his like for example, Driller, right, the 3D thing. He just added 128K the AY music, right, to it, and then was basically spreading that version. So it was translated to Czech a lot of times. But he was also, because he was I don't know, he may have had access to other things. He was translating some like VHS tapes, right? Like dubbing over the original with like Czech voice and so on. And yeah, he was pretty famous for his music and so on, because it was not very common, the AY music. And also there were a lot of like peripheries that added just the AY music, and without any memory requirements. So there was the entire scene from Poland and Czech Republic and Slovakia that had the music demos that were running on 48K spectrums with the 128K music, right? And a lot of this music was from Fuka.
Well, I have a question. Like you're talking about some of the games you were getting from him. When we had the interview with the author of Gaming Behind the Iron Curtain, he was talking about a lot of text adventure games that were written in Czech that were like basically like trying to be what would you say? They were trying to be anti-government and stuff like that. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Like what I watched the stream at like last week that Yaroslav was on.
Yeah,
A lot of things. I'm not exactly sure about the anti-government because, for example, the Indiana Jones that was mentioned.
Yes, that's right. That was one of them.
The Indiana František was actually created like 3, I think, Indiana Jones 3 text adventure games, and I cannot remember that either of them was anti system or something like that. I think that may not be from Fuka. That may have been from somebody else, because the first one was completely original. The second one was based on, I'm not sure which movie, but the third one was on the Crusade with the Sean Connery the movie, and I didn't see really.
Well, I remember he said one of them like he was afraid to play it, or someone in the was afraid to play it. The guy HRDA, his last name, I don't remember how. I don't know how
Stanislav Herta. Yeah.
Is that how you say that? Okay.
Yeah,
Something like
us.
that.
Yeah.
But I remember he said he was afraid to play the game because like you had to blow up a certain statue in a certain square or something like that.
Yeah, there were a lot of things like that, but I didn't have really access to much. It was pretty risky, right? To publish something like that, like some samizdat or something that was basically not something that you would do to unverified the audience, right?
So you wouldn't put your address and phone number on that cassette.
Yeah, I think that would not be a wise thing. Yeah, I think that Fuka, he had like the pseudonym Fuxsoft.
Yeah.
When he was publishing these things, there were a lot of things with his signature and all for Spectrum, but then I think relatively soon after, like, because a lot of these games were like from 86 and stuff like that, but I think that he moved to Amiga pretty soon, so like the 90s, the Didactic era. I think that he was that was like his last year that he published some, I think that FIRE, like Fire game, that maybe found was published by Ultrasoft from Ultrasoft was the game company that they discussed in that 20.
Yeah, he said he published like 40 games or something like that.
Yes. I remember I have the tape with that game from Fuxsoft. And I think that he did also like Tetris 2, which was 2-player version of Tetris. That was published at the time, and that was probably his last things I know of for Spectrum. Then I think that he moved to Amiga, and I know that because he was doing so many things about movies, and I saw his articles in like movie magazines. Where he was doing like reviews, reviews, and I know that his name was in movies for subtitle translation. So if you go to like at some point to movie theater, you can see like that he translated the movie. So that was his kind of trajectory. I think that he actually even did some TEDx talk, which was pretty fun. But yeah, I don't think that he was too much computer oriented. He did some things like here and there regarding computers, but it was more like the movies and translations and so on after that.
Well, I hate to bring down the party, but David, we've got about 4 minutes left or
Yep.
something.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so our next meeting is Sunday, January 18th at 2 p.m. And this recording will go up sooner than that.
Okay.
The other
Maybe
thing too,
even this weekend.
I wanted to just bring up real quick since Mowgli's on here too, and of course Ryan. So I just got in the composite boards from Stewart. They just came in today. So I'm gonna, probably throw those into your 1500s, Mowgli. So because like I said, I got the keyboards swapped out, and so they, those two 1500s seem to work fine. Of course, the keyboards were flaky, and that kind of goes with Ryan too. So I got I got this keyboard switched out on his that ZX Spectrum that we converted to an NTSC model, right? So I got the keyboard put in there and tested that out, and the keyboard works in that fine now. So I got to get that back to you. What else? And I know Hot Z stuff. What was his goddamn? What's his name from Cali?
Oh, Tim Swenson.
Yeah, Tim. Yeah. So I kind of stopped doing that because I wasn't working on the 1500s. But once I get these composite mods in there and see how they work, because I composite modded them, but they're really dim, right? There, you got to turn the brightness up on your screen pretty high to kind of make them look
Oh, you were
normal.
talking
But
about that in the last meeting.
yeah,
Because like
because it was
transistor or something is.
yeah, it's just a basic transistor ramp on it. But like I said, they were dim. So I was like, I talked to Stuart and said, hey, can I buy some of these things from you, a little cheaper? And so he gave me a cut on it. He actually sent me a prototype ZX81 USB keyboard. I guess it's supposed to go to an emulator. And so I got to try that out. He was like, you want to, kind of give me a trial of this thing. He's like, wanted somebody to test it. So I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't mind testing it. So maybe I'll show some. I don't know. I need to talk to him first. I don't even know if he wants pictures of that, or it's kind of a cool little keyboard. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know, Mowgli, that I'll put those composite mods in. Those two 1500s look good. And then Ryan's Spectrum, NTSC Spectrum, that's back up and running. And
David,
yeah,
since the next meeting is on a Sunday,
yeah,
maybe we can get Brett, who lives in Australia, it seems.
Oh,
talk
really?
about.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for his.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe that's where we can, like the time difference between, like him joining us here, probably not so easy, like on a Monday night, but maybe on a Sunday he could join us or something like that.
Yeah.
To talk about some of these oddball. But by then I'll watch maybe a few more of his videos on these
of
Eastern
course,
Bloc computers.
And of course, the other thing just wanted to mention is, of course, like in Mowgli's here too, that the hotels are going to be opening up for the Midwest for 2026.
They did.
They already have.
Yeah, Sunday.
Oh, they have?
Yep.
Already have.
Yep.
Okay.
10
Link
o'clock.
is already live.
Yep.
Oh, I
You have
forgot
to make a
that.
decision,
Okay.
Carl.
Well, I'm probably going to go to the Midwest one since that's the biggest one, I think. And you're probably going to go, right, David, again? So
I'm going to
I
go
know
to
you may go
Midwest,
to
yeah.
another one. Yeah, you're going to go to another one, but I'm probably not going to go to, other ones. I'll just probably end up going to that one.
Yeah.
So I guess I better get onto the hotel site if I don't want to. But I don't think
Yeah, I mean,
anybody else is really going to Midwest, right? Other than David, myself, because I know I talked to Ryan and Adam, and they're probably going to try to go to the Southwest one.
Yeah.
I think that's
Ingo
in Dallas.
Yeah.
I think Ingo might go.
Ingo might go to Midwest. Okay, well,
yeah, there's a couple of folks who've said maybe to Midwest.
And I mean the hotel block is for the Renaissance,
right?
At this point, there's cheaper options in the area. You just have to remember that parking is kind of crappy.
Yep.
Especially if there's going to be another Indian concert or Indian wedding of some sort, then the parking lot is basically gonna turn into a free for all again. like it did last year. So hopefully that garage is going to open up for whatever the fun zone is that they basically nuked part of their parking lot for. I am hoping that that's going to open up and we'll be able to park in that to handle some of the overflow stuff. But yeah, I mean, remember, we're only renting 2/3 of the convention center. If somebody rents the other third, parking, and even with us, just us, parking can be adventurous on the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, gentlemen, it's been good.
Yeah. Thank you, Joseph.
Really,
That was
really
awesome, by
interesting.
the way. That was great.
Yeah.
It's very impromptu and yeah, enjoyed it a lot.
Thank y'all. See you
Right.
in 2, 3 weeks.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good to me.
All right.
All right. Bye,
All
guys.
right. And
See you.
thanks,
Bye.
Carl.
Bye.